There's another office that has funded research and programs, which is the Vocational and Adult Education Program. So this is, and especially if your university has some outreach programs and adult ed programs, this might be a good place to go. It coordinates programs related to adult education and literacy. Sometimes they mean at the bottom end of adult literacy. But career technical education, community colleges, if it has a relationship to jobs and work, all the better. To acquire basic skills to function in today's societies. And they are doing these things. I won't go through. Okay. And there's contracts, which go to subject matter experts. There are grants and cooperative agreements. Support teacher equality, again in adult education, and Tanya Shoy is the person there. Now we go to something a little bit more familiar, which we heard about today, which is the NSF, and that's where there is, again, a lot of money. Another aspect of the NSF, before I get into this, is that on your campus, all the science departments they have to do a certain percentage of all their grants have to have some kind of outreach or educational component. And one, that's a chance to get involved with them, and secondly, to get to know the agencies. Then there is a particular component of the NSF, which is, let's say, the softer end of it. And that is the, it used to be called EVIS, Values Society kind of program. So these are the programs that come under that. And Mike Gorman, although he's an academic who's there on short term, and he's leaving pretty soon, but you should still in the meantime, he's still a contact person. And he's someone who's, you should know, I met him years ago out of science technology studies. He's does history of science, but he also worked for years in a writing across the curriculum program at University of Virginia. He understands writing. He's very sympathetic to writing. So there's the Office of Legislative and Public Affairs, which runs these, sets up kinds of workshops, and essentially the publication of science to the public, communication of science to the public. Okay. There's informal science education programs which they run, which is after school. Oh, I'm sorry. No. Anyway, and then communicating research to public audiences is another project that might be of interest to some of you. So again, go to the NSF site, check REPA, and the STS program, which is can fund rhetoric of science and engineering from a variety of perspectives. And to do this, you need to, though the background knowledge, you need to be familiar with STS. You can't just come in cold with the rhetoric of science unless you know something about the sociology and technology studies. And then they also sponsor studies about how their own communication systems work, how does the peer and panel view, and that might speak to some of our interests, and on broader impacts of science and transformative research, whatever that means. And then we have the last one, which is the most familiar. Okay, on the list that Joanna showed, that there was a couple of big grants from NSF, and then there are a lot of small grants from NEH, right? And so that's the okay, and this is very familiar. This was the most elaborate of the presentations. It says a lot of things that will be very familiar. The contact person here is Musona Cherry. Okay, these are the kinds of questions the NEH is interested in. And so, as we've heard, you have to, as from Cheryl, we somehow have to speak to traditional humanities interests, because those are what your review panels are, those are what the programs are framed around. So what's the role of art in life, I guess, would fall into this sort of making possibilities for the humanities of the future. This is their website. They have a lot of programs, all of which produce, which have smallish grants. Again, they have speak to your program officers, get a sense of it, plan ahead for uses of the money. And let me just say, from the grants I've had, it's very important to budget well, because I've seen people that have partners on grants on their side of it just sort of make gestures. And then they found they couldn't spend their money because that's not what they wanted to spend it on. You have to think very carefully what you can realistically spend it on. It's not so easy to always spend money in a fruitful way. They run, the NEH runs still runs seminars and institutes, and again, it's a little bit hard to sell. For a while, they were funding rhetoric one back in the 80s. It's much rarer now that they sponsor that, and that provides money for the participants as well as for the program. Landmarks of American History and Culture. When we workshop, maybe around rhetorical history, you could do something there. Summer stipends for work. You probably learn about these through your campuses. Most of their money is just to support individuals to do work, because that's how the humanities go ahead. So they buy your time, mostly at various rates. And so that's what, these are some of the institutions, I guess, which they work with. Okay. So this is what the federal money looks like. Again, it's a very dispersed kind of view. And maybe it'll get better and it'll be more friendly to us. But right now we have to work through their categories.